One. So, what if I told you that booking appointments was as easy as having a conversation? No clicks, no forms, just pure AI magic. Today, I'll show you how AgentForce AI agent streamlines appointment scheduling like never before. Let's dive right into it. So there could be a couple of scenarios. Let's say you are a customer support representative and a customer reaches out to you needing an appointment. Instead of searching manually for the available slots, wouldn't it be great if an AI agent could handle everything for you? Or let's say you are the customer and you directly want to book an appointment. Both of these use cases can be achieved by using the agent force. Now, in this example that we've got, we're gonna talk about lightning flow as an action. So user is looking to book an appointment, right? We are going to use lightning flow for that. So user is looking to book an appointment. The AI agent asks for a case number because the appointment has to be tied to a case, right? Now, based on the case number provided by the user, the AI agent is going to use that case number, provide it as an input variable to the Lightning flow, wherein we have all the processes like querying the existing service appointments, checking the case status, whether it's a valid one or not, and fetching all the available appointment slots, and then displaying them back to the user so that the user can select the appropriate slot just by typing. And once the user provides the appropriate appointment slot, the AI agent then needs to again call the flow and create the appointment record in the backend and display the record details to the user. So all of this is going to be handled by the AI agent with the use of a lightning flow. Now let's jump right into it and see the demo. Hey everyone, welcome to another demo in the AgentForce series. Right now we are in Agent Builder and we are in the appointment agent. Now usually we would have multiple topics within an agent, but just for the sake of simplicity, we are using just one topic here, which is labeled as appointment handler. And this is going to be used for everything that's tied to appointment scheduling. It could be creating, updating, or other things. So let's talk about the description. So this is for all activities related to service appointments to be used when appointment needs to be created, updated, or viewed. There are some other things also mentioned here. Please ignore them for now because I was trying different things. So there could be multiple descriptions and scopes for this. Let's focus on appointment scheduling. So your job is to accept a case number from the user and based on it fetch the existing appointments and provide the response to the user. If an appointment does not exist, then create a service appointment record and again provide the details to the user. So this is the scope that is related to appointment scheduling. Now let's look at some of the basic instructions. So refer to this topic when the user asks for creating, viewing, or updating an appointment related to a case. Also, okay, now let's ignore the other instruction because that's for a separate use case. So always ask for the case number before proceeding. Do not proceed without getting it from the user. This is because we are not tie a appointment to a case. When the user provides case number, convert it into a string and pass on to the flow. Use the actions available and then provide the output in the HTML format. So we're gonna go to the demo right now and let's ask the agent to book an appointment for us. So we would simply type, hey, I want to book an appointment. And then let's see what happens. So this line mentions or helps agent to understand that it should use the topic that's tied to the appointment. So as you can see, it's now asking us to provide a case number. So let's first provide a case number that already has an appointment or where the status is closed so that it doesn't book an appointment and it shows us an error or a message that your case cannot be used to book an appointment. Let's see if it works. So as you can see, we got the message. It appears that the case with the number 004 has a status that does not allow an appointment to be created. Now this message is configured by us in one of the text variables that we'll see in the Lightning flow. Now let's go ahead and ask for a different case which does not have an existing appointment and the status for which is not closed. So let's give another case number, and this time it should fetch the available slots and show back so that I, as a user, can select one of them. So as we can see, we got multiple slots that are available, and I just need to type the number. So let's say I am looking for slot number three, to book slot number three. So I could just simply type three and press enter, and it should take it. And this is because it retains the context, so the agent would be able to understand what I'm trying to say. So let's give 3 as the input. And now it should be able to use this slot and book an appointment and then provide me the details of the record that is created. So as you can see, I got the service appointment name and the case number and the selected slot. So I hope this demo was helpful. Now let's look into the backend process where we see the objects and the flows that we have used to build this functionality. All right, so let's dive deep into the backend process that we have built on the AI agent. So as you can see on my screen, this is the custom object that we created, which is called appointment slots. And this has some basic fields like start time, end time, and the user that the appointment is tied to. So we created some basic records as well for this object so that we could use them in our flow, and whatever case number the user is going to provide as an input, based on that we would fetch these appointment slots and just display them to the user. So basic object, but this will give you some idea as to what you could achieve in this use case. So now let's dive into the flow that we have written, and we'll show you the input variables, the output variables, and how we have built the flow overall. So this is the lightning flow that we have built. And as you can see, the first element, we are getting the case details. So that is to get the status of the case and all the other fields. And as you know, that the case number has to be provided by the user as an input. So we have created an input variable. You can see case number, and very important, we have to mark available for input if you have to use a variable as an input variable. So because this is marked as available for input, this will be visible in the agent action, and we could give some instructions to the agent to use this variable and then pass it on to the flow. So this is the case number that the user would be providing to us. And then once it's provided, it's going to be passed by the agent action to this lightning flow. Now, as you can see, we are getting all the fields from the case record in the flow. And then there comes another part where we are going to fetch the existing appointments. Before that, we should check whether the case status is valid or not. So here we are checking whether the case status should not be equal to closed. If it is equal to closed, then we should show an error message. So again, we are storing the message in another output variable, and this is the text that we have provided. I'll show you the output variable as well. In this way, the output variable would be visible to the AI agent. As you can see, available for output is marked as true. So this will be visible in the agent action. So if the case status is closed, then we should not go any further. We should just show a message to the user that this appointment cannot be created. If all of that is fine, then we go ahead and fetch the existing appointments in the system. And again, the same thing, we are going to check if there are any existing appointments on the case, so that we again display some sort of error to the user that you cannot build another appointment because there is already an appointment. Again, we are going to use the output variable, and we are also going to fetch the slots. So as you can see here, available slots is another output variable that we have created, wherein we would be storing all the available slots that we get by querying the appointment slots object that I showed you. So one thing to remember here, which is very important, is that there are two transactions that are going to happen in this flow. Number one is where the user gives a case number to the agent, and then agent calls this flow to fetch the appointment slots. This is the first transaction. So at the end of the first transaction, the agent is going to provide the appointment slots as an output to the user. Now, when the user selects the appointment slot, let's say slot number 3, then again the agent needs to call this flow, but then it's a new transaction, right? So it does not retain the existing values that were populated in the variables in this flow. So we need to differentiate this time around, so that maybe using a decision element or a different path in this flow, so that the same logic is not repeated. Because in the first transaction, all we wanted to do is we wanted to fetch the appointment slots and display them back to the user. While in the second transaction, we actually want to use the slot selected by the user and create the service appointment record, right? So here we are using a decision element. If you can see the populate decision element, where we are checking whether the slot selected variable is populated or not. Now, when the user selects the slot, we populate the slot selected or selected slot and pass it on to the flow. So if it is not blank, then we know that this is the second transaction and we need to create an appointment. If in the first transaction, where the user was just providing a case number, the slot selected would be blank, and then we would basically go to a different path wherein we would query the appointment slots and then show them back to the user. So you can see here, if the slot is not selected, then we are just populating the slot and ending the flow there. Whereas if the slot is selected by the user, we are then going to go down and create the appointment and then assign the created appointment fields to another output variable, which is called created SA. Now this variable is going to be in the form of a record, and I'm just trying to show you. So created SA, if you can see again, it should be an output variable. So you can see that it is available for output and the data type is a record. So now that we have seen the flow, we should go back and see the agent action, where you can see how these input values and output values are used. So as you can see, this is the agent action, which uses a flow, and it also has instructions just like topics and actions. So you can see this action fetches existing appointments and it displays back to the user. If there are no appointments, then it creates an appointment record and all of that. Now, if we scroll down, we can see two sections here. One is input and one is output. So in the input section, we have the input variables like the case number. That's number one. So it's a string that contains the case number to be used in the flow. You can see the data type, which is just a text. And if you scroll further down, you'll see that the require input and get the data from user, collect the data from user is true. Now there could be variables that we are not using. So the second variable we are not using, let's ignore that. Even the third one we can ignore. The fourth one we are using, that's the selected slots. So again, this is the slot that the user selects. So this is in the form of a date time string, and again the collect data from user is true. Now let's look at the output variables. So the first output variable, or the important one, is created SA. So if you remember, this is the appointment record that we created. The data type is record info, and again show in conversation is true, which means that it can be rendered and shown back to the user. Then we have the selected slot as well, which is another variable where we are storing the slot that was selected by the user. And again, it's an output variable because maybe we want to show that slot to the user.